Aston Martin's lineup used to be pretty simple. You had the Vantage as the sports car, and then you had the DB cars as the Grand Tourers. But now things have gotten a little bit confusing. You've got the DBX SUV, you've got mid-engine supercars like the Valhalla and the Valkyrie, you've got the Vanquish returning, you've got all sorts of things happening at Aston Martin, including this. Aston Martin now has a bunch of new S models on all of their various vehicles. There's a Vantage S, there's a DBX S, and now there's this, the DB12 S. No, this is not a replacement to the DBS. That's what the Vanquish is for. So what exactly is the DB12 S? That's what we're going to discuss in today's video. You're watching Autoblog. Now, if you're looking for a pretty car, it's hard to do better than the DB12 S in this gorgeous ion blue. This is like a $13,000 optional color here. Now, the DB12 S has a slightly different grille than what you're going to find on the standard DB12. A little bit lower, a little bit wider, gives this car a lower look than the standard DB12, just a little bit meaner. The wheels are a little bit different as well. I'm loving these 21-inch wheels, gives it that wide look. We've also got these louvers in the hood, giving that axe murderer look. We've also got the red enamel S. That is what they're doing on all of the S cars. The Vantage S also gets this as well. I'm loving the carbon fiber mirrors. It's all kind of one piece. The mirrors fold in a really cool way. Absolutely love that. Carbon fiber all across the hood. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, the DB12 S is not an extended wheelbase or length car the way that the Vanquish is, but it is a really good looking, pretty long car. And here at the back, we've got these stacked quad exhaust tips that look absolutely crazy. This is a great looking car from the back. The DB12 was already great looking, but the S just has an extra dose of attitude with that exhaust. A little bit ISF Lexus looking. I don't know if Aston Martin will love that comparison, but I love the exhaust on the Lexus ISF. And then unlike the standard DB12, which has a pop-up spoiler, this one has a fixed one that adds a little bit more downforce and reduces lift. Under the hood, the DB12 S doesn't actually have a V12. Instead, it has a twin turbocharged AMG sourced V8, the same as the standard DB12, although this one makes a little bit more power. 690 horsepower instead of the 671 that you get in the standard DB12. That's almost as much power as you used to get in the old DBS, so the DB12 S is pretty quick. Moving on to the interior of the Aston Martin DB12 S, this is probably going to be the shortest part of the video because not too much is different about the S specifically. There are some like S things. You can get some red accents here on the inside, but we don't specifically have those. You can really customize this interior however you want. We've got this tri-blue interior, so we've got kind of this bright blue, this dark blue with a little bit of white. I think it actually looks really cool, a little bit cartoonish. It might not be your style, but again, you can get this interior however you want. It's an Aston Martin. We've got this gorgeous carbon fiber that looks really nice. We've got lots of buttons and knobs, very tactile feel. Aston Martin has mostly gotten rid of the haptic touch sensitive buttons. Those are pretty much all gone. This is basically peak Aston Martin interior, both in terms of fit and finish and in terms of the technology. And that's because Apple has basically taken over the dashboard. This is the first and only car that has Apple CarPlay Ultra on the dashboard. What does that mean? Basically, you have Apple CarPlay as you know it, so it takes over the main screen, but it also takes over the gauges. So this is actually, it says Aston Martin hand-built in Great Britain, but these are actually Apple CarPlay designed gauges. So you can go over here into themes and you can actually change what those gauges look like. I'm not a huge fan of some of these other ones. This orange one is actually kind of okay, but I do think that the best one is going to be the green one. But you can actually customize customize now the colors here. They've added a lot more customizability than what was here before. There didn't used to be quite as much before, so they are making this just like a lot more customizable than it was when it first launched. So that is really nice. I do like that ability that you can kind of customize this before. You can even customize the icons. You can have the clear ones, you can have the dark ones, you can have the default ones, and I think that the dark and clear ones just look a little bit better in an Aston Martin. This is a very luxury, very expensive product, and all of those colors just kind of clash with, I mean, maybe not on a color like this, but they do kind of clash with the rest of the product. But this is a huge upgrade from what Aston Martin had before, and basically you no longer have dated infotainment that makes the rest of the car so difficult to live with. And when you have an amazing stereo like Bowers & Wilkins, you have a back seat. It's a very small back seat. You have heated and ventilated seats. You do have a lot of livability here. This is a car that I could see myself driving every day. Now, with about 20 more horsepower on tap, you would expect the DB12 S to be quicker than the standard DBS. Let's put that to the test. Foot on the brake, foot on the gas, launch control active, very easy to do, and whoa, perfect start. Wow. Whoa, Aston Martin recalibrated the launch control to just make it easier to get off the line. That was 0 to 60 in. That was quicker than Aston Martin said. 3.33 seconds is the quickest I have gotten this car. That is actually quicker than Aston Martin says. I've actually tested Aston's 820 horsepower V12 Vanquish, and this actually gets off the line quicker in the real world. Why? It can actually put down all of its power. The V12 just struggles to get down all of that power to the road, whereas this V8 car just doesn't. So if you're just running from 0 to 60 and you're not doing stuff above 100 miles an hour, get the DB12 S. It's actually the easier car to get off the line compared to the more expensive Vanquish. Believe it or not, you're spending all of that money, and if you're not a person who likes to do triple-digit speeds, this is actually going to be the quicker car in the real world. But the added power and the improved launch control are not the only improvements that Aston Martin made. We had retuned steering that is supposed to feel more natural, and it already felt really good to begin with. We've got retuned suspension with stiffer rear anti-roll bars, and oh man, this thing just handles so well. It's honestly blending, it's tuning that fine line between a Grand Tourer and a sports car, and it's doing it a little bit better than the Vanquish does, because the Vanquish honestly feels like a supercar in the shape of a Grand Tourer. This feels like a Grand Tourer that's almost getting into supercar territory, but it still has a little bit more of that Grand Tourer spirit. And they've retuned the E-diff so I can get onto the throttle easier and smoother and quicker without having to worry about putting too much power into it, even when I have the traction control off like I do now, or semi-off like you can do when you go into the various modes and things. That's something that's a little bit more difficult to do when you have over 800 horsepower and a V12 engine. Combined with the new throttle calibration that they've done here, and you have that wider torque band to take advantage of all of the new torque and power from this V8 engine, this thing feels phenomenally fast. And then there's the titanium exhaust, which just sounds absolutely incredible. It's just got such a bass, just such a bellow to it. I'm gonna just shut up so you can hear it. Oh, it's so deep and so rumbly. I know this engine starts its life as an AMG engine, but it sounds so different here with what Aston has done to tune it. It really just doesn't sound like an AMG motor anymore, and it sounds so different than how the V12 and the Vanquish sounds. They're two totally different cars, so I don't feel like you're losing out at all by only getting the DB12 S. versus getting the Vanquish. And this is 27 pounds of savings just from the titanium exhaust. So you're getting a lot of weight savings here on the DB12 S compared to the regular DB12. Aston has also recalibrated the 8-speed automatic transmission, so it now shifts 120 milliseconds quicker. Yeah, that felt about 120 milliseconds quicker. And I know some of these changes might seem incremental on the surface of things, but when you add them all up together, the changes to the DB12 S, I should say, really just make this feel like a completely different car. It's actually funny that I misspoke there, because the DB12 S really does feel like a totally different car that could be worthy of a completely different name. It is funny that they now have the DB12, the DB12 S, and the Vanquish above that, because all three do feel like they have distinct personalities, which begs the question, which one do you get? I have been lucky enough to drive all three. I've driven a DB12 convertible, which is lovely. It's just kind of a nice grand tourer. So if you want that, you're gonna do some back road driving, that's kind of the one to get. Just get like a soft convertible DB12. If you want something a little bit sportier, maybe you would consider the DB12 S. However, I'm not sure that this is the S Aston Martin that I would get. I would get the Vantage S. I actually drove the Roadster version of that, and even with the drop top, which is not the way that I would order the Vantage, I would get the coupe. It was the best Aston Martin that I have driven recently. Better even than the Vanquish. It was small, it was lightweight with all of its S enhancements. It was basically perfect. And it actually got off the line from 0 to 60 in 3.26 seconds. So quicker even than this DB12 S, quicker than the V12 Vanquish, which is so crazy. It was small, it was light, the steering was perfect. So if you really want a sports car that you can track, that you can drive on back roads, that you can have fun with, it has a huge trunk. It doesn't have a back seat, but it does have a huge trunk if you get the coupe. That is the one that I recommend. And when we talk about the pricing, it's actually a lot less expensive if you don't go crazy with options. So in my personal opinion, the Vantage S is actually the one that you should get if you really, really enjoy driving. And the Vanquish is still there if you absolutely want a V12 knockout stunner that everybody is just going to stare at. It's an amazing car. But let me know in the comments, would you get the DB12S? Would you get one of the other Aston Martin models? Or would you not get any of them? And would you just walk down to your local Porsche dealership and buy a 911? I want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below. And while you're down there, leave a like, subscribe to the Autoblog YouTube channel, and check out autoblog.com. I'll see you next time.